Survivor Series, as it stands right now, we have Jericho, Owens, Strowman, Reigns, Rollins representing Team Raw versus AJ Styles, Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Orton, and Shane McMahon. And they are representing Team SmackDown. We also have Charlotte, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Alicia Fox versus Nikki Bella, Alexa Bliss, Becky, Naomi, and Carmella. The New Day, Gallows and Anderson, Sheamus and Cesaro, Enzo and Cass, Shining Stars versus Slater and Rhino, Hype Bros, American Alpha, the Usos, and Breezango. And I think two matches that have the most on the line of this whole Team Raw versus Team SmackDown event. Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler versus Sami Zayn for the IC title. The IC title could end up being on Raw. The Cruiserweight Championship is also on the line, could end up being on SmackDown as Brian Kendrick takes on Kalisto. And in the expected main event, maybe this might change as far as where it lands on the card, Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. Out of all these matches, guys, what are you most looking forward to?
Probably, I would think the Cruiserweight Championship. It's boggled my mind for months that Kalisto would not be included in the Cruiserweight division, and I think this could be a way to resolve that. So I expect Kendrick and Kalisto will put on a hell of a match, and spoilers for predictions, I'm predicting a victory by Kalisto.
We'll hold off those picks. We'll get there.
Overzealous. Come on. As far as which match I'm most excited for, this week, at least so far, not having, obviously I'm not watching SmackDown live right now, so I don't know what promotion, if any, is going into that. I'm assuming most of the focus to that SmackDown is going to be the 900th episode, but we'll have to see.
Oh yeah.
As far as just seeing the build as of last night's Raw, may not be popular opinion, but I'm pretty excited for, at least in some capacity, for all of the Survivor Series elimination matches. I do think Ziggler Zayn is going to be insane, not a pun. But Brian Kendrick and Kalisto, just as Nick said, is also, I think, going to deliver quite a bit. Kalisto has very explosive, high-flying offense, which it's almost like, some of the things that T.J. Perkins does, but kind of turned up to 11. So it should be really interesting to see how kind of more of a more or less ground and pounder like Kendrick deals with that style. So yeah, overall, like I don't think I can pick a match that I'm looking forward to most. I think call me a fence rider, but I think I'm looking forward to Survivor Series as a whole, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're going to be watching SmackDown Live. I've got it on in the background. Nick, you've got your eyes on it as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if anything happens tonight on SmackDown while we're recording, we'll definitely add that to the Survivor Series card, or at least add that to the conversation. For me, I think the match I'm most looking forward to is Brian Kendrick versus Kalisto as well. Just the fact that we might see the Cruiserweight Championship being brought over to SmackDown, it really does align with, what I was saying last week as far as, the 205 series that WWE is going to be doing. That's Cruiserweight exclusive show. It's taping right alongside SmackDown. So, to have that team over there, I think makes sense. Have that team over there. It also makes sense specifically because of, the fact that no one is really happy with how Raw has been treating it. SmackDown, I think, has a better opportunity to really showcase that talent. Ziggler versus Zayn, I think, is another match that is really high on my radar as far as a must watch. Looking over the live chat scene, pretty much the same thing. Looking forward to Ziggler and Zayn. But okay, let's just go into predictions.
Well, before we do,
yeah,
before we predict Survivor Series, can we predict the IC title match that is about to happen right now? Do you think it'll be Ziggler facing Zayn at Survivor Series, or do you think Miz takes it back?
Yeah, this is leading off SmackDown. We have an IC title match. I don't know, Adam, what do you think?
I think it's going to be Ziggler. I feel like that's a better matchup between the two, especially with the Raw versus SmackDown kind of attachment to it. I think Ziggler just presents that more competitive nature for Zayn. If it's Miz, I'm not going to say it's going to be a bad match, but I feel like it falls prey to just kind of going to the standard kind of, heel versus face dynamic, which I think in this case, I think having, two faces go up against each other actually benefits the match more than hurts it. So I predict Ziggler.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Ziggler. I think that's a better matchup overall. But again, it is kind of odd, the idea that Miz is not a part of Survivor Series at this point. But yeah, I don't know if it's worth not having Ziggler a part of Survivor Series either.
It is an interesting little conundrum because they've touted the unpredictability of this IC title belt. Will Zayn be facing Ziggler? Will he be facing Miz? For me personally, I think the WWE would want to fall back on that more traditional face versus heel vibe. Especially if Kalisto does go on to win the Cruiserweight division for SmackDown. I think it would make the IC title going to Raw a little bit easier to swallow for some fans because Zayn will be beating a demonstrable asshole rather than Ziggler. And while I would agree with you guys that Ziggler versus Zayn in and of itself would be the more exciting match to watch, I don't know, maybe there could be a better story told in there if Miz were to win tonight and then go on to face Zayn at Survivor Series.
Well, I think that's a fair point to kind of draw from that too. Is there a chance, if it's Miz instead of Ziggler, is there a greater chance of the Intercontinental title being successfully defended and staying on SmackDown, or it doesn't matter who goes up against Zayn? Is Zayn going to take it home to Raw no matter what?
Yeah, personally, I don't think it matters. I think Zayn gets the title, but we do have the Undertaker supposedly showing up tonight on SmackDown. So
it's not supposedly, he's definitely showing up.
Right.
They've advertised it like a bunch.
So this is my thought. My thought is whoever loses this match that's happening right now, again, it's Miz versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. Not if, but whoever loses, my prediction is Undertaker is going to attack Shane McMahon and take Shane McMahon away from that team, and then whoever loses is just going to fill that spot.
I don't know about that. I mean, as far as I recall, Undertaker and Shane left on good terms after their match at WrestleMania, so I don't see why Taker would seek out and attack Shane, especially because if they even on the off chance that they didn't leave on good terms, Undertaker still won. So he's usually not the type, I think outside of his feud with Triple H, he's usually not the type to go seeking out people that he's already beaten.
Yeah, my thought would be if Taker gets involved at Survivor Series, it'll be an arrangement with Shane for Taker to take Shane's spot. Maybe they cast it as Shane thought that there was a good point made during that whole State of the WWE address that it's not about him. It shouldn't be about him. It should be actual talent fighting in this match. And what better talent than The Undertaker? Also, that could potentially set things up for WrestleMania. Be it with Randy Orton, as it has been rumored, more Taker versus Wyatt. There are a few different directions you could go with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Considering that Bray and Orton are both members of Team SmackDown here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did double check the roster. Taker is not on the roster as a talent, be it for SmackDown or otherwise. But neither is Goldberg. And I even though it wasn't officially said, as far as I can recall, I would imagine it's still being cast as a Raw versus SmackDown deal because every other match is.
So let's predict that as far as where Undertaker fits here. Is Undertaker more likely to have a singles match or represent Team SmackDown
For Survivor Series,
at Survivor Series?
I doubt wholeheartedly he would have a singles match at Survivor Series. There's no way they would not promote the shit out of that for months if it was the case. There's no way they would book that match. Funnily enough, we were talking about that before we started recording, but in this particular instance, there's no way they would book an Undertaker singles match a week out of Survivor Series. Undertaker's one of the biggest casual or even non-fan draws. Like, to not advertise him on the card for so long would be, in my opinion, complete folly.
Yeah, I'm betting on him participating in a Survivor Series match. Like you said, the likelihood of him being in a singles match outside of WrestleMania is incredibly slim. I'm not sure if he's had a singles match outside of WrestleMania in years. The only other shows I can remember him taking part in, it was in a tag team match.
Well, last year with Brock, both at SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell.
Okay, I did forget those. I did my best to forget those.
Sorry.
But yeah, Brock Lesnar is still an outlier. If he was to have a singles match at Survivor Series, who would it be against?
Well, and again, to my point, both of those matches were advertised heavily. So I don't I don't believe that they would ever just throw Taker, not at this stage in his career. Maybe if he was, a more active member of the roster, like 6-7 years ago, maybe, but not here and now. Not with the staggering presence that the Undertaker brings now that he's a part-timer. Him competing in a just to continue on that thought, it's interesting. I wouldn't be against it, but I have a feeling if Taker makes any sort of appearance at Survivor Series, I feel like it'll be similar to it wasn't the last Raw versus SmackDown, but the Raw versus SmackDown elimination match from years ago. With that, I believe it was during his first storyline with Orton, where Orton was the last survivor, and then Taker showed up in the flaming casket. Like I believe him doing something very tableau like that would probably be what he does at Survivor Series in an attempt to start a slow burn for WrestleMania.
Yeah, so just a real quick Undertaker singles competition. The last singles match obviously was WrestleMania 32 against Shane McMahon. Before that was Hell in a Cell 2015 versus Lesnar. SummerSlam 2015 versus Lesnar. And then WrestleMania 31 versus Bray Wyatt. But that's it for singles matches as far as like his last four. He has had some tag team matches alongside Kane. So Survivor Series last year versus Bray and Luke Harper. He also competed during some WWE live events, again alongside Kane versus Braun Strowman and Luke Harper.
Right.
But yeah, like six singles matches.
I can't believe
from
that,
2013 on.
I can't believe that Bray versus Taker was like just 2 years ago. It feels like it was so much longer.
Okay, so Miz versus Ziggler is still going on. Let's go ahead and, if you're ready, Nick, you want to start doing predictions?
Sure.
All right, let's start with the tag team Survivor Series match. We've got New Day, Gallows and Anderson, Sheamus and Cesaro, Enzo and Cash, and the Shining Stars representing Raw versus Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, American Alpha, Usos, and Breezango. Nick, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking SmackDown takes this one. I think Gallows and Anderson make good on their promise. They stab Team Raw in the back, not to flip sides and join SmackDown or anything, but they screw over New Day, screw over Enzo and Cass, and either leave them hanging or set them up for defeat at the hands of Team SmackDown.
I am also picking Team SmackDown. Just you look at the comparison of the teams involved, and SmackDown's team is stacked. And stacked not just with good teams, but also young, hungry, wanting to leave their mark teams. Granted, I'm not going to say that all the tag teams on Raw are any slouches, or that they're not big enough star power wise, but realistically, the only two that I see being significant threats to the and I say this being a big Enzo and Cass fan, the only two that I see being big threats to Team SmackDown are New Day and Gallows and Anderson. And even New Day, I'm only putting up there because they're the tag champions. I feel like they've kind of, again, bringing out my Enzo and Cass thing, I feel like they've gotten a little soft. So now I posit this to you, Nick. Since you say that Gallows and Anderson want to stab Team Raw in the back, you said that they would not attempt to go to SmackDown. But I, again, posit this to you. Why wouldn't they? What if this whole thing is them stabbing Raw in the back so that they can hopefully reunite with their buddy AJ Styles?
There are a couple reasons I think that'll be the case. For one thing, I imagine that will take place in the men's Survivor Series match. But also, Gallows and Anderson, when it was first revealed that they were going to be split from Styles, none of them were upset. They all talked about the club is everywhere now. And there were some allusions to the Bullet Club back at home and ROH and things of that nature. It was just cited as a no one is safe deal. The club handles their business on Raw, dominates the tag team scene. AJ takes the World Heavyweight Championship and runs the place, so to speak. I don't think that's going to change.
That's fair. I distinctly remember, on draft night, AJ seeming a bit perturbed that Gallows and Anderson had been drafted to Raw. But to your point, I think he quickly got over it and started dominating SmackDown. But just
I may be remembering the later reactions. Yeah, because I don't remember that from AJ, but
it was very brief. It was kind of like, hey, I just got drafted to SmackDown, and they're like, yeah, we just got drafted to Raw, and we're happy about it. And he was kind of like, what the fuck? But like I said, it was very brief, and they didn't follow up with it in later shows.
So as far as a potential trade, a talent trade, as far as the club going to SmackDown, one thing that I think we as fans have been looking forward to, though, is whether or not Finn Balor could get involved in it. And Balor is on Raw, expected to be back early 2017. That would be the only reason I would keep the club over there.
Not to shore up Raw's flailing tag team division?
Well, we're only, half a month away from the New Day breaking Demolition's record. Hopefully after that we can actually start to build a new tag division, or a good one.
Yeah, with that in mind, I think that's one of the stronger reasons you keep Gallows and Anderson on Raw, because aside from the New Day, they're one of the only actual tag teams there. You've got Enzo and Cass, obviously, but then the next most legitimate team you have is Sheamus and Cesaro, which isn't an actual tag team. And then you got Golden Truth and the Shining Stars, but there's the issue of legitimacy. What real shot do they have at any sort of gold?
I think, there's always potential to build up a team as soon, you just have to, again, start that path. So while Golden Truth and Shining Stars don't look like much now, all it takes is one good segment, one good win, one good match, or leading to a series to turn that around. Will the WWE do that is obviously another question entirely. I doubt it. But I know Goldberg. That's later in the night. I know Goldust is great in the tag division. I've seen him with several different partners up to this point in his career. So, and I don't think Truth is all that bad as far as work rate goes. I think his character sometimes leaves a bit to be desired, but I do think as far as like his capabilities in the ring, considering the dude's like, isn't he pretty old?
I want to say he's in his mid-40s.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't look as old as he is. I'll definitely throw that out. But as far as I recall, he's like pretty old, and he still works pretty well, I think. So I could see a potential fire getting lit under that team. Like I say, I think the only downside aside from WWE wanting to care about them, the only other downside is we got to see this New Day thing through. And until we see that through, we got to suffer through some shitty tag team division antics.
Real quick, Goldust is 47. R-Truth is 44.
Yeah, in my mind, there is no downside to the Golden Truth. As far as I'm concerned, they are one of the most entertaining parts of Raw if they're ever on. But where I'm coming from is, do they have any legitimacy as a tag team? And no. The wins they get are either few and far between as far as actual victories go, or they're flukes, like they're costing the Shining Stars a victory because Truth wanders through the ring looking for Pokemon. There's no way they will ever be considered for a shot at the tag team titles. And the same goes for Shining Stars.
I don't know, man. The Golden Truth, they were just featured on Table of 3.
4-3.
4-3 alongside Booker T. I think it's definitely possible that they will get a shot at the title.
Man, I gotta web.
Table for 3 has done wonders for people's careers, like Neville, Zayn, like they were on not too long ago, and they're doing incredibly well right now.
Yep, Ryback also, fucking great that episode.
It was a wonderful episode.
Didn't do shit for Ryback, but it was great. And my point is like, yeah, as it stands now, Golden Truth will never ever get a tag shot. But, like I say, for any legitimacy, especially in a sport like this, all it takes is just that momentum to start rolling. My thing is like, will that momentum ever start rolling? And I don't know. Yeah. I'm assuming no, but I'm not gonna say it's impossible.
By the way, we do have some breaking news. Miz is your new Intercontinental Champion. He just defeated Dolph Ziggler.
Damn it! Fuck you, WWE.
For less than a week, he will be champion.
Still, I want to see Ziggler's aim.
He reversed a schoolboy into another schoolboy and got the pin, or a small package rather.
So it's totally clean. No disputes.
It absolutely was not.
God, what is that team called? I forget now.
Spirit Squad?
Spirit Squad got involved. So, yeah.
And Maurice did.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean.
Possible triple threat, maybe?
I hope not. And in fact, I would imagine not, because that would stack the deck in SmackDown's favor, which Raw would be vigorously opposed to.
But Zayn is the underdog from the underground.
Zayn does not have a history of getting what he wants on Raw.
I'm just saying. Well, and not to mention, does it give two bodies representing SmackDown would be in that match, but Ziggler and Miz absolutely fucking hate each other, more so than I think anyone on any of the freaking Survivor Series teams. So would there really be an advantage for SmackDown?
There is a lot of hatred on these Survivor Series teams. I don't know.
By the way, SmackDown, I don't know if you guys heard the news. I'm just seeing it for the first time as far as like it actually happening. Is it Corey Graves that is now on the SmackDown team? Commentary team? Wait, no, Corey Graves is on Raw.
No, Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips. Sorry, my TV is like so far away. Tom Phillips has been added to the SmackDown crew. He has a little tiny corner of the table. There's a 4-man commentating team now.
So
the fucking worst.
Just to point this out to you, Garvin, that was kind of a Cole-esque blunder.
It was,
Like,
wasn't it?
Corey Graves and Todd Phillips look nothing alike.
Well, they both
And
wore
in fact-
suits. They both wore
It's
suits.
okay. They
and
both had the same haircut,
Yeah,
sort
they-
of, for like
yeah.
a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I believe it takes two Corey Graves to equal the same height as Tom Phillips too. So, yeah, they're great. They're great on NXT commentary.
I
I'll say
agree.
that much.
All right, so you guys are both going with Team SmackDown for the tag team titles, or the tag team Survivor Series match.
Yes.
I am gonna go with Team Raw,
Okay, if you want to be wrong.
just to be different. The 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series women's match: Charlotte, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Alicia Fox versus Nikki Bella, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Carmella. What do you guys think about this match, Adam?
Definitely going with Raw. I mean, I said it last week. I'll say it this week. There are 3 horsewomen on Raw's team. There's 1 horsewoman on SmackDown's team. And again, Alexa, Naomi, Carmella, no slouches. Nikki, well, whatever. But those 3 women are very good, potentially. I guess you couldn't really call them second generation horsewomen because they're not all really part of the same generation. But definitely the 3 of them plus, I don't know, maybe Nia Jax, you could argue could be a second set of horsewomen. But I still just, I don't know. Nikki drags the SmackDown team down for me. I will say her work rate has improved lately and, has improved steadily over her career, arguably. But I still don't see her, and I don't know if I will ever see her as like shoulder to shoulder with women like Becky, with women like Alexa, Naomi, Carmella. Even on the Raw side, I don't see her standing shoulder to shoulder with those women either. She, to me, is everything up until Emelina debuts anyway, represents everything that the past WWE Women's Division represented, and I think, frankly, her time is up.
A year ago, I would have felt the same. Currently, I think Nikki is one of the more talented members of Team SmackDown right now. I think she outshines Naomi. I think she outshines Carmella. Alexa, not so much, and Becky, not so much either. But I think she is, between the 10 women in this match, definitely in the top 5, if not the top 3. Bayley's performances on Raw have not exactly been stellar. I think that might be down to who she's working with more than it is an indictment of her own ability. But yeah, I think Nikki absolutely brings something to the table with Team SmackDown. With that being said, I think there are too many combustible elements on Team SmackDown for them to overcome the monster that is Nia Jax. Nobody has been able to provide an answer for her on the main roster yet. We've got precedent for that happening. Bayley has beaten Nia Jax before, but Bayley's lost a lot more often than Nia Jax than she's won as well. Between Nia Jax and I think Charlotte will be one of the survivors as well. I think there's just too much of an uphill battle for Raw to lose here. And in terms of the aftermath, I think this might set something up with the women's title scene on SmackDown. I think we might see Nikki finally make a pursuit, citing some way that Becky failed the team, both in the build-up to Survivor Series and perhaps at Survivor Series as well.
Well, it also seems like, based on their match last week, that Alexa and Becky definitely don't still have some unfinished business. I would assume they went for the finish they did from a creative standpoint because they want the feud to continue, which I'm not opposed to. I think both women are telling a pretty good story that I think even if there was a definitive finish last week, I still would have liked to see more of. So I definitely think that at least in one more major singles match, Alexa and Becky have some settling to do. But I can definitely see the potential for Nikki, Naomi, or Carmella all kind of settling between each other who ascends. And I try to give Nikki the benefit of the doubt all the time. I know, my own distaste for, and I also, for a time, I don't think I was loyal as you were, Nick, but for a time I did watch Total Divas, and I tried to give Nikki the benefit of the doubt, but I think that just a lot of that kind of, I don't know, girly girl sort of stuff kind of bleeds into my judgment, and it makes it skewed, and I will definitely admit that. But I'm not going to say she can't hold a good story together when I think she can, when she's really motivated to do so. And this crop of women on SmackDown, I think, has the best potential to keep her motivated. So, and especially now that Brie has more or less officially retired from the ring, I think she's allowed to kind of stand out on her own and not always have to fall back on that sort of twin dynamic that the WWE always loved to heavily lean on. So I definitely think that works in her favor as well.
It was called Twin Magic.
No. The move was Twin Magic, the actual flipping of the two. But their whole dynamic, though, how they always kind of had each other's back, ignoring that one time that they didn't. To me, was the twin dynamic. But if you want to call it Twin Magic, you can. I mean,
there's also the factor of Natalia at play. She's a SmackDown coach, and she's taking it pretty seriously right now. But I think there may be an area where she causes some aspect of the downfall for Team SmackDown.
That's
maybe
possible.
she's distracting Nikki. Maybe she is in Alexa and Carmella's head. She's kind of taken them under her wing as of late. I don't foresee her being away from the ring.
I would also, feel the necessary need, even though I'm pulling for Team Raw, to mention that there's the potential that their team breaks down too, not too dissimilarly from the tag team or men's Survivor Series matches, in that, these are teams formed from, same is true for SmackDown. These are teams formed from that sort of strange bedfellows kind of mentality. So I definitely see, I don't know if it'll cost them the match, but I definitely see there's going to be dissension between Charlotte and Sasha, of course. Possibly, as you mentioned, as a carryover from NXT, there could be some dissension between Bayley and Nia. There could be some dissension between Nia and Alicia, and on the SmackDown side, of course, Alexa and Becky. Nikki and Carmella kind of have a pseudo feud going on.
There's nothing pseudo about it.
Yeah,
there's a full-blown feud going on.
Fair enough. It's just they haven't really got a lot of singles matches to actually settle it. I think that's kind of where for me the pseudo comes in. Naomi is kind of the only, much like Argenis from Lucha Underground, she's kind of the only one that sticks out to me that doesn't really have any direct personal beef with any of the other women outside of you're in my way and I have to beat you. So yeah, there's that potential for all that dissension to kind of break down and possibly cause either side the matchup.
Okay. Live chat is going with Team Raw. I'm going with Team Raw as well. Yeah, I just the Team Raw team is too strong, I think.
Oh, another form of dissension if they decide to call back from NXT is of course Sasha and Bayley. It seems like on the main roster they're super best friends, but it's possible that they could call back to it.
Okay. Intercontinental Championship match. Miz defends against Sami Zayn. There's two questions here. Obviously, who's going to win, but does the Spirit Squad get involved to help Miz? Does Dolph Ziggler get involved to help Sami Zayn?
I don't think so. I think you have too much invested on both Shane and Stephanie's side to allow any sort of interference. I think there is going to be a stipulation involved here where if there is any interference whatsoever in this match, that it costs someone dearly.
I can also see those two things negating themselves too. I'm not going to say I firmly predict it, but I could cautiously predict if the Spirit Squad comes down to interfere on Miz's behalf, I could also see Dolph Ziggler running down to sort of even the odds and try and clean house, at least with the Spirit Squad, and potentially in the ensuing chaos, distract Miz enough to lose. I could definitely see that being a good nesting ground for a lot of good SmackDown stories, not the least of which being Daniel Bryan being pissed at Miz for even considering bringing the Spirit Squad into play, and then Miz having the thing, well, I was trying to do it for SmackDown, and then you could have Bryan have the banter, well, look how good that did for us. So I definitely see a lot of potential furthered storylines from some chaos like that. I would prefer a nice, clean, straight-up match, though, to be honest.
Just a quick aside. Is anybody else thinking that Kalisto's music needs to be retired? Because it seems like whoever comes out to that music turns into a botch machine.
I don't remember what his music sounds like. Is it still the Lucha?
Yeah.
Okay.
For those not watching SmackDown, he just he screwed up a springboard maneuver that I have seen him perform dozens of times.
Isolated incident.
Is it?
Did he screw it up while his music was playing?
No.
Okay.
But
then I don't see a correlation. Personally.
I didn't see Sin Cara botch any moves against Kendrick on Monday. He's got new music.
The curse of the Lucha Bimo.
Could be.
By the way, some more breaking news from SmackDown. Undertaker put on his hat.
Woo!
Yep.
I'm excited now.
Shit's getting real.
Quality newscasting.
Nick, you're going with Sami Zayn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Live chat's also going with Sami Zayn. I am going with Sami Zayn. Cruiserweight Championship. Let's keep talking about the Kalisto factor here. So Kalisto versus Brian Kendrick for the Cruiserweight Championship. If Kalisto wins, the Cruiserweights will join SmackDown. Thoughts on this match?
I predict a victory by Kalisto if he gets new music. If not, Kendrick totally wins. Seriously, whatever music it comes out to, Kalisto wins. Kendrick is... I think he's entertaining as champion, but Raw has no idea what to do with the Cruiserweight division. And I think that has been reflected in the way 205 Live is being structured. They're going to be traveling with SmackDown. They'll be airing right after SmackDown. This is just a natural progression of events. It's real life influencing art. I think Kalisto wins and Kendrick goes to SmackDown as a disgraced former champion.
I also think Kalisto will win. I thought it was so great watching that segment on Raw where fucking Kendrick tries to rally the troops, and literally not every single one, but quite a few were like, wait, well, what about the time that you did this and that, and he's like, no, we're forgetting about that. Like we're solidarity, we're staying on Raw, la la, and then it just.
Have I ever lied to you?
Yes, yeah, like I don't remember who it was, but the first
all the time, bro.
Immediately saying yes was fucking outstanding. I think the Cruiserweight title moving to SmackDown is definitely a good thing. I feel like that kind of serves sort of the idea of SmackDown, kind of this new and fresh sort of take on WWE style. I think it serves it so much better, for better or worse, the Intercontinental is kind of a relic, and not that relics are horrible things to have, but it does seem like Raw is the more traditional show, so it seems like trading those two titles makes the best sense for the themes that they're going for. Not to mention, I think it does kind of, as Nick was kind of saying, that it does kind of help to enrich Kendrick's character of being this slimy kind of heel dude that just can't seem to, like, when the chips are up and when it's in his best interest to just be straightforward and win, he can never bring himself to do it, or it backfires on him. So I think that's a good story to continue, and yeah.
Live chat's currently mixed on this match. It seems like there's fear with the idea of moving the Cruiserweight Championship to SmackDown just because it's a 2-hour show. Is there enough time to really give the cruiserweights the spotlight that we all want?
Yeah.
Who cares? They're getting their own show.
Not to mention, sure, that's a good point. Not to mention, they just take the Intercontinental's time. Like, that's how this whole thing works. Like, I don't think that one title will stay and the other title will go. That's not how WWE does things. So, for all this talk of wanting to be cutthroat and destroying both brands, we all know that they work under the same umbrella at the end of the day, and they're not going to hose one show so vastly over the other. So, yeah. I mean, the Intercontinental division right now, as it stands, is all of 2 people. I don't even know who else competes. I guess maybe Apollo Crews, maybe Baron Corbin when we actually see them on TV. Outside of that, who are we really missing? So shuffle those guys around, bring the cruiserweights in to take their spot. I mean, they're arguably more exciting anyway. So who's really losing?
Yeah, I think overall, if Raw does get the IC title, I mean, there's definitely time there. The only issue that I see is the cruiserweight division is with Kalisto, I think like 8 people, maybe ish. So is there really enough time for an 8-person division? Maybe that's when you get more support behind the idea of a trade, a talent trade, because SmackDown's getting so many new people that they kind of have to, unload a little bit.
That's possible too. I also think that SmackDown is progressive enough to potentially put some cruiserweight talent that may not be able to be showcased while a certain feud is resolving, put them into like a tag team and possibly challenge the tag division, or I guess you can't really do a mid-card title because there won't be one. But still, I think there's better opportunity even outside of the cruiserweight division for the cruiserweights on SmackDown.
All right. So, like I said, live chat is mixed on that match. I am also going with Kalisto, so that is 3 for Kalisto to take the title to SmackDown. Lesnar versus Goldberg. Is this the final match on the show?
Probably. Yeah, I can't really see any environment where the match that gets touted this highly as fantasy warfare just got real, all that nonsense. I can't imagine it wouldn't be anything but the main event.
Yeah, begrudgingly, I'd have to agree.
So who wins?
I think Lesnar wins. There was a point raised in one of the many back and forth video segments where it was pointed out that Goldberg has won over on Brock right now. In their face-offs, Goldberg's 1-0. So I think it's a matter of pride for Brock that he evens things out and then repays some interest. I hope this doesn't result in a third match between Brock and Goldberg somewhere within the next 6 months, but I can't see Goldberg winning over somebody that is at least still a part-time talent.
I definitely agree. Not to mention a part-time talent that they've invested so much momentum and more or less the ability to look strong for so long. Hopefully, I'm hoping that in order so that once someone does finally defeat Brock, they gain the same momentum that he loses. I hope WWE has that foresight. I definitely hope that they don't think Goldberg should be that guy that gets his thing. And even outside of the video packages, Goldberg said the same damn thing in their confrontation this week during their contract signing. You could read the whole list of people you've destroyed to me, and guess what? I'm not on it. So why should I be afraid of you? to me, those are famous last words. And, as much of a spectacle as this match is meant to be, I just kind of wanted to, much to Nick's point, just be finished and done with here. I don't want to see a third match from them. I'd like WWE to at least start thinking about who potentially on the main roster, who shows up every damn week or day or whatever, who is there constantly to actually make their main current active roster, better, who could beat Brock. Because at this point, to me, it's starting to become stale and old hat. I was kind of already in that mindset when we saw the, regardless of how real or planned it might have been, when we saw the Brock Orton match. It's like, obviously, if you're coming up with this kind of finish, you're running out of ideas. You don't know who else to put up against him in that big match field, and you don't know how to continually keep him looking strong without undercutting your talent that shows up every week. So it's time to start thinking about the future, I think.
Yeah, we may not know exactly who could beat Brock, but it's damn sure not going to be this year's pre-order bonus.
Yeah. Or definitely should not be.
The last person to beat Brock Lesnar was Roman Reigns at Fastlane. It was a triple threat match, should point out. Dean Ambrose was in that match as well. Outside of that, the last singles match that he has lost was SummerSlam 2015 against The Undertaker.
And that was highly contested.
Yep, extremely dirty as all hell.
Yeah, just looking at his match list on the ProFightDB.com, singles wise, yeah, he does not lose singles matches for the most part. The previous one before Undertaker was John Cena at Night of Champions 2014.
Again, the triple threat, right?
No, that was singles.
Oh, right, that was the time that Seth ran down but didn't actually cash in. Right?
Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 31, defeated Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that's when he actually cashed in.
Yeah.
Touching on some SmackDown current events, I love this idea that the tag team division can become united, even like the Usos and American Alpha, by the decree of King Booker. I love the way they just rally behind him there at the end. It's weird because I didn't expect the Usos to be playing ball. Like, of any team, I figured it would have been them being the odd one out rather than Breezango. But I don't care. I kind of love it.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
The other thing that I don't think we mentioned as far as the Lesnar versus Goldberg match, Live Ted's pointed out, I know we've talked about it previously as well, but when it comes to old WCW guys, WWE always seems to get the upper hand. So, that is another reason why not to pick Goldberg.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, you'd hope that they kind of might feel like they already got that worked out of their system with his whole feud with Triple H and how poorly that all went, and then, going on from there. But it's still possible that regardless of how much time has passed, they're still going to fucking treat him like a piece of shit because Vince didn't make him.
Live chat is mixed on this match. So, okay. The only match that we have not picked so far is the 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series men's match. And I was hoping that something was going to happen on SmackDown for this match, but we'll just go with it. Jericho, Owens, Strowman, Reigns, and Rollins representing Raw versus SmackDown's AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Orton, and Shane McMahon.
I think Raw wins. And my answer could partly be based on what I think is going to happen. That Shane is not the final participant for Team SmackDown, but rather Taker is. In that event, I think Bray and Orton would sabotage Taker and thus Team SmackDown. Maybe something pops off between Styles and Ambrose along with the mascot. But while Team Raw has been the more contentious team as far as inner conflict goes, they more or less seem to work that out. If nothing else, Team SmackDown is not currently hanging under the threat of their careers could be threatened if they lose. That more than anything seems to be foreshadowing that Team Raw wins this. Cleanly? Probably not. But victors nonetheless.
I know the Team Raw stood in unison at the end of this week's Raw. That in no way sells to me that any of their personal business is settled. They might have been able to unite there when it was kind of more or less kind of an exchange of one-on-one encounters, chained together, of course. I don't think that they're going to totally be on the same page by the time Survivor Series airs, by the time their match bell rings even. While, yeah, the SmackDown side doesn't have that threat of potentially career-threatening actions being taken, they haven't really shown quite as much dissension. Sure, Styles and Ambrose, but Bray and Orton obviously are allied, at least for the moment. Shane, I think, wants the best bit of success for SmackDown, so he's going to be willing to make compromises. So when you compare, really the only big issues on the SmackDown side are Styles and Ambrose, and you have three other guys to hopefully kind of keep that at bay, whereas almost every single member of Raw has a problem with every other member to some degree. Yeah, to me it seems like logically Raw would fall apart. However, I think the biggest things SmackDown has going against it is the fact that they have a mascot by the name of James Ellsworth.
Yeah, James Ellsworth.
Who we know to be quite the bad influence on match decisions. So if SmackDown were to get screwed over, I feel like it would be because of James Ellsworth than because of anything else. All that said, I think that, after watching the segment on Raw this week, I kind of feel like this has some I don't have I'm pulling for Team SmackDown to win, and I'm picking SmackDown to win because that's the side of the fence that I fall on. That's the show that I like better. Outside of that, though, I mean, I feel like there's a good enough story being told on either side as to how, one could gain victory over the other, or how one could suffer crippling defeat because of, the plans, I guess, they have or don't have laid out. So I got to give it to WWE for, I think doing a pretty good build for this match. And I'm picking SmackDown.
Two other interesting dynamics and or magic, if you will, for this match. All three members of the Shield are involved, and there are three members of the Wyatt family involved, if Braun Strowman is still technically part of the Wyatt family. So do we see any sides getting crossed as far as that goes? Dean Ambrose helping Rollins and Reigns, or vice versa, or Bray and Orton helping Strowman in some capacity?
I would not expect Ambrose to help Rollins. Reigns, I still wouldn't expect to see any outright help, but I would expect them to be hinky about trading blows. With Wyatt and Orton and Strowman, I think that would be a more likely unit to reform. Again, if we go in the supposition that, sorry, I'm getting distracted by SmackDown.
Carmella is doing very well. For anyone saying that Carmella is not a good wrestler, I disagree.
Oh, she's most certainly doing well, but that is not the issue at hand. Charlotte has just showed up.
Oh, you are ahead of me. Thank you.
Spoilers.
with the supposition that Shane is being replaced by Taker, I would fully expect all members, both past and present, of the Wyatt family to do something about Taker. and potentially even with Shane. The Wyatts have never been fans of any authority figure. Maybe Bray did not take kindly to being forced to wear SmackDown blue, becoming a cog in the machine. What have you. I do not expect Ambrose and Styles to be the only contentious relationship on Team SmackDown.
What if instead of Undertaker, it's Dolph Ziggler?
Even better. Wyatt figures Ziggler is a bug to be smashed. For that matter, Styles and Ziggler have never gotten along. Ambrose and Ziggler have rarely gotten along. SmackDown launched after the brand split with a feud between Ziggler and Ambrose, and things got very heated between the two. So that would be even more reason to pick against SmackDown if Ziggler does in fact replace Shane.
All right, live chat is mixed on this match. I'm going to go with SmackDown, and this is what we have picked. Team SmackDown wins the men's elimination match. Raw wins the women's elimination match. SmackDown wins the tag team elimination match. Sami Zayn takes the Intercontinental Championship over to Raw. Kalisto brings the Cruiserweight Championship as well as the division over to SmackDown. And Brock Lesnar defeats Goldberg. That's Survivor Series. So, real quick before we jump over to NXT TakeOver, are you looking forward to Survivor Series?
Somewhat. I can't pretend that I'm excited about all of these matches. The men's elimination match, I don't care that much. The tag team match should be interesting, if only because there are so many moving parts which could fail spectacularly during the match. But the IC title match, the Cruiserweight title match, even the women's Survivor Series match to some extent, all present some interesting facets that I can get behind. And I'll probably tune out before Lesnar and Goldberg come on.
I'm excited for it. I said that at the beginning when we were picking the biggest match that we're looking forward to. For me, like I say, I feel, obviously I feel the strongest build has been for the men's. No surprises with how WWE likes to book things. I would say the next biggest Survivor Series match that's gotten the most attention from there would probably be the women's, and then followed up in the last place by the tag match. But all of them, they've gotten some, since Hell in a Cell is wrapped up, I'm quite impressed at how focused both shows have become on the importance of this event, which is something I think a lot of fans have been, complaining about. Of the big four pay-per-views, Survivor Series, generally speaking, usually feels like the weakest. So I'm kind of happy that they're putting forth some effort to, make, at least on paper, this Survivor Series look pretty strong, in my opinion. So hopefully it's a sign of good things to come.